So yeah, we work with both of those audiences, Tom, pretty regularly, and then also the third one that you indicated, emerging franchise brands, and working maybe strategically with a company that wants to begin to roll out a brand without a lot of potential track record and so forth. But in talking to sort of franchisees, kind of taking the first audience, what we find is that many of them are sort of disappointed or frustrated, or have had some of their attempts to get financing from other sources foiled. And we're not here in any way to, although the title of the webinar is Alternatives to SBA or ROBS, we're not here in any way to say anything negative about those programs. But what we do find is often a franchisee will, as you well know, have a number of elements that are required in order to get going and get started. There's a franchise fee that needs to be paid. There's often the cost of capital. Once the cost of equipment, maybe there's an equipment lease that needs to come into play. And then there may also be a need for working capital for fixtures and fittings, and also just to get things going and to pay salary and to have expense ahead of revenue, as well as to cover your own personal burn rate. And so there's a lot of things that franchisees are looking for to kind of get the comfort level to make the leap. And we may work with multi-unit folks, but we're primarily talking here about, an individual that is either expanding or starting afresh. So we're finding folks that have gone maybe a ways down the road with, some alternatives around funding, secured and collateralized forms of funding, and maybe have hit a dead end. Maybe there have been some changes in guidelines, regulations. Maybe the bank they're working with is not perhaps doesn't have a large volume of SBA, and then maybe isn't fully familiar and hasn't briefed them appropriately as to some of the things that they're going to need, and they discover this much further down, much further down the road, and they're looking for some alternatives. And that's where we really shine. And we've had many opportunities to come in and really save deals and help people get that money. The other thing that we find is that maybe they have taken advantage of a ROBS program, and they've tapped out their 401k, or they've done a rollover, and yet they still need some additional funds, right? And for the same reasons, they might still need funds for the actual buy-in, or they might just need funds to really get the business up and running. And so we can be very complementary in that sense, where maybe it wasn't enough, or there wasn't the comfort level to to fully drain the retirement savings, and so they're looking to take some loans and looking for some alternate forms of capital. So in any of those instances, we feel we're really offering a great alternative, and we're able to get people moving forward. In terms of working with the franchisors or the ZORs, if you want to be hip about it, we will work directly with brands and be very much a part of their packages and their program, and be presented as a preferred lender. And in many cases, we're able to help meet all of the needs of the franchisor buy-in, or again, we can work in conjunction. So there's a fitness franchise that we're working with right now, where again, we're not able to had about, I believe, 15 candidates, and some issues arose with SBA guidelines and with the particular lender. And they were looking at about 15, entrepreneurs, that some of whom were ready to rock and roll, some of whom had a spouse that had quit their job, who were going to be left without a franchise. And so we creatively worked with the brand to find an equipment leasing solution to cover the cost of the fittings and the equipment. And then in conjunction with UFS, we were able to find the rest of the capital for them to buy in and get moving, and rather than stalling that out. So just a couple of examples how we work, kind of with both of those audiences you outlined.